Niagara Falls, secret army base? He knows exactly what's going on with this little Buck Rogers thing. Okay, I see portals. I see portals. I have portals, or I know exactly what you're doing, man. I know exactly what you're up to. I got your game and your plan.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Portal Hunter Club. I am your Mew Master, Drew, and with me today is a very special guest, codename IRDABEERMAN. Welcome, Beerman.
Thank you.
So, it's an early morning here today in beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but we're here for the Portal Hunter Club members, and today we have a cool topic. Today's topic is going to be the early days of Ingress. So how Ingress got started and everything. So the video that you just saw is actually the first ever instance of Ingress being out in the wild. It was San Diego Comic-Con 2012. There was a Buck Rogers panel happening, and this person by the name of Tycho interrupted the panel to tell everyone that they knew about the portals, and he could see the portals, he could see visions and everything. Men in Black came, dragged him away, and then all of the people on the panel got business cards with a YouTube channel link, and the YouTube channel was actually the original investigation. So Comic-Con was in, I think, June or July, was it, or May? I don't know. It said up there on the video. I don't remember what it was. But anyways, there was a period before the game actually started, and as we're talking about Ingress beginnings, that's sort of where you started the game, right?
Right in the very early days, I don't know. I think I came in day 5 or 6. There was a couple things that have been posted on their murder mystery board to go along with a couple of those YouTube clips that had come in. Actually was introduced to it by a friend in our IT security club out at MATC college, local community college, and he was like, hey, you guys got to check out this video. And we watched it, and I was like, wow, that's weird. But then he explained the game and everything that went on with it. I was like, okay, the game concept sounds kind of interesting, and there was a lot of mystery behind it. It was a very exclusive closed beta where you had to kind of like earn your way in, otherwise you just submit your email and then they would get back to you. But he said he had known some people that had submitted their email address and been waiting 3 months. And I'm like, exclusive, I gotta do it now.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I think a lot of people that are playing that don't know about you is you're well known as the guy who will just destroy entire towns. Yeah, but you started with the puzzle solving and that kind of stuff and the storyline, although you didn't continue after that.
Yeah, pretty much. as soon as I got that invite code, and actually I didn't get my code from solving one of those puzzles. I had solved a couple, but it was like only if you were like one of the first 3 to submit the correct answer that you would get that invitation code. I actually got my code from a guy who used to work with Joe Philly. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
A long time ago, by the name of Tom Rolson. He lives way south. He did a lot of work with Google, what you guys know as Google Hangouts and Google Talk and Google Videos and Google Help. He helped on that back end. So he had known Joe Philly for a long time. So he pretty much had this unending supply of these invite codes. But he was kind of picky about who he was giving them out to because, it's a very social game. So, you have to actually meet those people.
Right.
So he gave me that code. He still says it's the best thing he ever did for the Resistance. And he's like, I might not be able to play like crazy, but I gave Beerman his invite code, and that pays the dividends.
Yeah. And there weren't a lot of people. So later on in the show, we have some emails from folks have called in and emailed how they got started in the game and how they chose the Resistance. So you chose the Resistance because Tom was a part of, or how did you?
Honestly, it was one of the when you first went in, you logged in. You looked, and I basically Dave Jacko, the original founder of the Milwaukee Resistance. I won't say that I did it. He had the idea. I just expanded it more because I'm crazy and would play, countless hours on end and was willing to drive, the 30 minutes, 45 minutes, hour and a half to meet, your next closest agent. Because you didn't have 30 people in your town. You had one person here, and then there was somebody else that played, in a town half an hour away. So you started to meet, the different people and go out. And I knew we could do bigger things. So, but I wanted to start small. Get that good base, start building up the local team, get the word out there, get a couple more people. And then you just started playing.
Yeah.
There's definitely a learning curve to this game, whether it's, how to play at a high level or my forte, how to farm insane amounts of gear and then just spend countless hours driving around in a car and not drive each other nuts.
Yep. Yeah. And then back then the game was a lot different than it was today. There was no power cubes.
Nope.
No viruses.
Nope.
You could put 4 mods, I think, and you could replace the mods.
You could remove your own mods. Thanks to Zipcar for ruining that. Well, Zipcar didn't ruin it. It was a good sponsorship. It was the fact that people figured out that the codes were sequential. So basically, you would just put in these codes and people were running code, and it was giving you all these shields and low-level things, but people were just basically sitting there and you could level from 1 to 8 without leaving the coffee shop you were at because you just put 4 mods on, take them off, put 4 mods on, take them off.
Right, yeah.
I was already 8 at that point. I was the first 8 in Wisconsin.
There was, and level 8 was the highest you could get to for a while.
For quite a while, yeah.
There wasn't a lot of people. It was you and Dave and Tom.
Oh god!
And then
let's try to remember all the names back then. Let's see, Dave, Jack,
Paul.
Paul came quite a bit later.
Okay. Pork Chop.
Nope, Pork Chop was later too. The original days. Who else did we have? Stacy.
Yeah.
Stacy Blassie also, I think.
Yep.
I don't know her name. It's got a lot of letters. Thaddeus Cooper. He was downtown.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the guys that played hardcore were the guys from our IT security club at MATC.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had 8 or 9 guys that played. Gus and Stallion, Jupiter and Stallion, they both played quite a bit. Let's see, Trent Kiley had a group. He lived over somewhere near Miller Park, Chat Noir. And then his buddy Anbar, so it was Chat Blue and his wife Chat Rose. They would come out. There was another guy that lived over there, Bradley Galapa, I believe.
There's quite a,
I mean, there's a lot of old school names.
Mm-hmm.
I power leveled and helped out and trained a lot of agents that I saw get leveled and quit this game over the last 5-ish years that I've been playing it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you started early on, and the game's been going for 5 years now. So
yeah, and I wasn't like, I started and I took some time off. Like I started and I went pretty hard down up until probably last year.
Mm-hmm.
I was real active, and anytime there was a new player, because I was out playing, 4, 5, 6 hours a day. So hey, you're new. You want to learn how to play? I'll swing by, get you some gear, show you the ropes, drive you around. And a lot of people, weren't real comfortable with driving and playing at the same time. So I was like, hey, I'm good at it. I'll pick you up if you're comfortable jumping in the car. It's actually what Stacy wrote her doctoral thesis on. It's literally the first time I met her. I was like, oh, somebody's playing down here. But because you knew where the portals were, you could actively tell when there was another player, which was the weird thing that kind of...
There weren't as many portals, so it's easier to tell, someone's downtown, someone's over here.
I mean, I worked downtown.
Yeah.
I used to deliver papers downtown, so I knew where all the portals were.
Yeah.
And I knew all the portals by name, which is another thing that a lot of players don't. There's very few towns within, I'd say, a 2-hour radius of Milwaukee that I can't go and show and drive to almost every portal in there, which is why the Greens always accused me of cheating, because I would blow up every single portal. I used to play and I would wipe a different county. Some people hit a city. I would hit a different county every night of the week, and I just kept cycling through.
So one of the other things that happened early on were anomalies. Believe it or not, they started anomalies early on. And one of the first, I think it was actually the second ever anomaly
Well, they started anomalies early on. It was interesting. I mean, Niantic was learning as well as we were. You know, nobody knew how to organize an event like that, including Niantic.
Right.
So, you know, there was some interesting snafus with the first anomaly. I lost a lot of good agents that day. It makes it sound like a war story, like people died. Nobody died. Just the legendary Joe Philly was the Niantic staff member that was responsible for informing our team of the rules. And he just so happened to tell our team the wrong rules. So in a was that anomaly wasn't 4 hours, was it?
No, it was like
it was short. It was like 2 or 3 hours.
And this was it was in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin for Gary Con. For because Gary Gygax, the founder of D&D, is from around here. So they wanted to do an event because they knew Ingress people were into that kind of stuff. I think they wanted to. And one of the guys in Niantic was a friend. It went around
something else. I think it had something to do with like Stevie Ray Vaughan, maybe. Because there was a separate one. The other day, the other one was down in Texas.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It was like his 2 favorite things were. Like Stevie Ray Vaughan or something. So it was like to his memorial or shrine and the Dungeons and Dragons convention. I just remember going to the after party and like, oh, I'm here. We're meeting up with a bunch of nerds. They're like, this is D&D weekend. You're gonna have to be more specific. She's like, nerds with costumes or nerds with phones? I was like, nerds with phones. They're like in the back room. I was like, all right.
So, and I actually feel redeemed because last year for Camp Navarro, it's one of the new events that Niantic is hosting where you had to build a portal and everything, and they like linked it with the portal in the game and everything. The Resistance chose the Trickster, which is Misty Hannah's, her, I guess, forget the name for it, her profile in the game.
Her dossier.
She's the Trickster. That's her. Someone in the chat remind me what the term is. But anyways, it was a Resistance team, and the Lake Geneva anomaly had to do with Misty Hannah. It was you either save Misty for the Resistance or free Misty from the Enlightened. And we happened to lose that one because we got the wrong rules, but I feel redeemed because the Resistance did an awesome Misty Hannah. They had a huge top hat with smoke coming out of it and lasers and all this stuff. And Misty may be shifting her influence, hopefully, toward the Resistance now, and in her rightful place, as she should have been 5 years ago from Lake Geneva.
Short of the Joe Philly dance after Seattle, after we managed to come back here in Milwaukee, and what was the other one? Utrecht? Or
there was
another one over in Europe. Between the two of us, we came back and just scored so many points.
Yes, yep.
I just remember at that announcement
Archetype
when they announced when they announced the scores at Lake Geneva, never seen so many surprise faces, including the Enlightened, because all the Enlightened knew that they had lost. The entire anomaly, they held one portal for every measurement. We took everything else, but in the original rules, it was largest field wins. So even though we had most of the field, they threw up one that stood for about 2 minutes that just so happened to be bigger than
the
ours.
biggest one, yeah.
So it counted and they won.
But we had all of the portals for nearly the entire
event.
Yeah.
I didn't make the entire event. Quite a few of our CCDC people didn't. That was the national championship day, so we were in competition. I remember.
Oh, nice.
Being downtown, finishing that, and then doing about 105 from downtown Milwaukee to Lake Geneva to get in for the second part of the event.
And yes, Atlas TD, the Misty Hannah hat was the best portal at Navarro. The Luminescent Heart, I don't believe, was the best one. The Resistance dumped their heart and soul into all of their I think we had 3 portals at the thing out of the 13. And the top hat was definitely the best one there. So, okay, so moving
on. If I look confused, it's because we brought Drew in to handle the storyline. I followed it for the first couple days till I started playing.
Right, once you got the invite code.
Then I concentrated on the playing side. I didn't really so much follow the story or what was going on. People that know me know, I'll help with big fields and I'll help with planning anomalies if I'm needed. But in general, I'm playing, trying to figure out the strategies and play the game more so than storyline or being chatty. A lot of people know me as that guy that talks a lot at the after parties. But other than that, a lot of people kind of think I'm a dick because I'm like, no, just stop talking, go out and play.
Yeah.
I don't need 100,000 chat messages. I'm trying to drive and blow stuff up.
So, so we got some voicemails and emails from people who wanted to let us know how they started the game and how they chose the Resistance. So,
how did you start?
How did I start? Oh.
You skipped over that.
So part. Yeah, I can trace back my Ingress playing to the day I bought a Microsoft Zune. Do you remember those? Yes. So,
Microsoft, we're totally going to have iPads too. Or
the Zune was clearly a superior product. And it still works. I have it somewhere in here. I remember. It works like the day I bought it. So anyway. So I got a Zune.
Blu-ray versus Ultra Silver Disc or whatever the heck the other one was. Somebody had to win. It was iPads.
Yeah.
I can't. What's the
iPods?
iPods.
Yeah. So
I didn't have anything Apple.
Yeah. So I had a Microsoft Zune. This was in like 2007, I think, and I listened to podcasts, various podcasts for years and years. There was a lot of podcasts that I followed. And one specifically, it was a bunch of nerdy guys. And I listened to this podcast for a good 2-3 years. So I was in close with the hosts. And what? And one of the guys had recommended, he's like, hey, I got this cool game. And he lives in Montana, by the way.
It's the same guy that recommended the Zune?
No. So I listened to this podcast. They were in Montana. He's like, you got to play this game. This is totally something that you're going to be into. And he said, oh yeah, and join the Resistance because I'm on the Resistance. So I downloaded the game. I didn't know anyone in town. I only knew my friend from Montana. So I had, played in my area for a little bit, and I went to Operation Cassandra, Chicago. I still didn't really know any players in Milwaukee at that time.
And that was because you ran into us at Lake Geneva.
No, I started in July of that year, and Lake Geneva was in like March, I think.
Oh, you did the first Chicago. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
The first Chicago.
We ran into you down there, and I was like, dude, hit me up when you get back. I'll show you everything.
Yes. Yeah, so I went to an anomaly. I was level 4. I didn't know anyone still that ever played this game. And I came back, and then because of the anomaly, I wanted to do more with this game. And eventually, I think it was you, Max, and Stacy were driving around the 3rd Ward, and someone just put a message out in comms like, hey, we're in the 3rd Ward, whoever wants to come hang out. I had nothing going on that day, and so I just came down and hung out with you guys.
Hey, we're going to build a farm. People need to show up. Can't do it by ourselves.
Yep. So yeah, that's how I started Ingress. It goes all the way back to 2007. So, and actually Max emailed us. Oh shoot.
God, Max, I haven't talked to Max in forever.
He emailed us how he started the game, and he sent me this email. He said he randomly found the game by looking for a different one, and because he liked the description. He said then he picked his team because I was riding in the car with Dan, and I was trying to join a team, and it asked for Resistance or Enlightened, and he read both of the description. And his friend Dan says, "Man, fuck the Enlightened," and that's how he joined the Resistance. That's his story.
That's a pretty good motto to live by, too.
Yes. Yeah.
It's kind of what I generally did.
Yeah.
I kind of did the same thing with my friends. Be like, oh, which team should I pick? I was like, if you ever want to talk to me again, pick the blue team. You want the Resistance. It's kind of, it's one way or the other. It goes in pockets depending on who you talk to, but there's usually that separation. Same with anything else in life. One team gravitates more this way. One team gravitates more that way. Yeah. I would say the Resistance in general is the older people, it's kind of like World of Warcraft or anything else. You got the naughty people, or whatever. You got the pure of heart, like, oh, I'm trying to save the fight of humanity.
Yep.
And they're like, no, let's watch the world burn. So it gravitates, but it all starts with your leadership. That's kind of the people is what makes the game worth playing.
Yes,
because the game itself is awesome. It's exhilarating when you first start.
Yeah, we got some voicemails actually too,
and then you just keep grinding.
So let's play.
Those are all voicemails?
Yeah, I think.
Wow, people love you.
Yeah. This is the first one.
That's how I got into Ingress. I actually got into Ingress because of my dog. I adopted a dog and she loves to take walks, and it's enough that I actually got bored with the walks. So I was looking for something to do while I took her out, and I ended up finding Ingress and got to choose between the color green or the Resistance, and the Resistance won, and slowly my least favorite color, which is blue, has taken over my wardrobe. Crazy, right?
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I was doing the same thing. I'm like, oh, I got to get some clothes to wear. I was like, like half of my t-shirts are all Resistance and, Wiser, our local group,
Tyler was just making the comment. I have a whole drawer of just the Ingress shirts. And so because I'm going to wear different ones during the show. So, but he was commenting that I just only have Ingress shirts now because of all the stuff that I've been to. I'm not complaining.
It's a good color. Honestly, blue is my favorite color. But when I first started playing, it was Packer season. So I probably would have gone green had it not been for David Jacko. So,
lucky us,
or unlucky you, because it depends on who you ask.
Okay, so we got another voicemail here.
Hey Drew, it's a Fox and Socks. So, how did I get into Ingress? We were at Stockholm Inn one morning, which I now know has 2 really fantastic farming portals at it, here in Rockford, Illinois. And I was sitting across from H. Kane Andrew and his wife, who is very good friends with me. And I said I was getting ready to go on vacation, and all of my cousins are like 7 years old and playing Pokemon, and I refused to play that, and I just needed something to do. So Andrew grabbed my phone. He downloaded Ingress. He said that if I did not join Resistance, we could no longer be friends. So I immediately mocked him, saying that I wasn't going to pick Resistance when the whole time I was totally planning on it. I clicked Resistance, more because I love the color blue than because of Andrew's threat. And then went on vacation and really only picked it up for a second to open it up and lay down on one portal, which ironically became my guardian, that actually pointed out with 1 level 1 resonator on it. And then came back and I put something out into comms because I didn't know how that worked, and I immediately met War Criminal and Opal Blitz, and I am at the Prairie Peace Plaza, and it has just spiraled from there. I hope this adds to your show. Have a great night. Bye.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the voicemail there. I think War Criminal and Opal Blitz and I Am Who I Am, they've been playing almost as long as you have. They've been around for a while.
Grizz was, Andy was relatively early on. I slowly started adding the people in from Chicago. Like I would coordinate with them for some of the bigger things. Originally, at first I wanted to get set up with our group here. That's why Wiser. That's why I've always been proud of Wiser. Right. Because I had to come up with something. And I was like, well, if we need a mascot, we need something cool. I was like, an owl. We're smart. We're always watching. We're night owls because I was always out at night playing. And the other alternative was Southeastern Wisconsin Resistance. And I didn't want to be sewer. Yeah. So I was like, I got to figure out how to switch this around. So we went with Wiser. But then I slowly started adding in, the bigger names. So I'd start getting on the Intel map, as it was back then. It was pre-ITC. Yeah. So I would get on and you just kind of zoom over and I'd send out these broadcast messages like, hey, thinking about doing something bigger, message me if you are the leader of your local area or your county or your area.
Right.
And I slowly started piecing together this network of people around, which later became Burn.
Yeah.
I talked to Daniel Lawrence early on because he had seen some of my messages like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. And I was
Right.
like, dude, you're trying to go way too big, way too fast. I didn't think it would ever work. But he's like, well, do you know some other people? I was like, well, funny you should say.
Yeah.
I was like, here's 40 people from the entire Midwest. These are the He's like, well, I don't want just anybody. I was like, no, these are just the leaders of their area. And that kind of quickly spiraled and became Burn. And he did a great job, man.
Yeah.
He moderated quite well, and he got some real good people in there to start finding the right type of people.
Yeah.
Although, a couple people like Dave Garnier would say Burn is nothing but a bunch of people that want to talk. And somewhat I don't necessarily disagree with him, because a lot of our time with the early Burn was just in Hangouts. But when those people needed to get out and go play, they're like, well, I'm kind of busy.
Well,
We were the ones in the car driving
Yeah.
around. That's how Dave and I planned Anomalies. We just get in the car, go out for like a 14-hour Ingress session, and basically just argue about everything we were going to do. By the time we were done arguing, we had a pretty solid plan set up.
all right, we got one more voicemail.
Hey Drew, Rid Grid here from Milwaukee. Loved the first episode. Keep up the great work on Portal Hunter. I started playing Ingress in the lead up to the Persepolis anomaly when my childhood dungeon master, who had already been playing for Resistance, sent me a link and said, hey, there's this anomaly thing going on. Join the Resistance, watch this tutorial, we can do the anomaly together, it'll be cool. So my wife Larkspur and I, we watched the tutorial. It's that one where Clue is saying very mysteriously, so you think it's a game. That kind of got us hooked. We hopped on our bikes, ran around the neighborhood, capped a few portals, actually ran into an Enlightened player, Urban Time Lord, on our first outing, which blew our minds. We said, hey, it's pretty neat. There's this community out here. So that's how we started playing, and that's how we joined the Resistance.
Urban Time Lord, that's a familiar name, because she was one of the original Resistance members, but she didn't like me very much, so she switched teams after I told her that she needed to play more, and she's like, well, it's not all of us can spend a life. I was like, I don't care what you do, just get out and play and stop complaining.
I think that's
she switched teams.
Yeah. That is good advice, though. It's like every little bit helps. Take your neighborhood, take your whatever you can do. If you want to do bigger stuff, if you want to do smaller stuff, but getting out and playing, the portals aren't going to change unless you get out and play.
And there, a lot of leadership questions came in, like, I don't want somebody telling me how to play. I would give advice, and we originally had it set up. That's when we brought you in. Mm-hmm. I was doing dossiers, and I did all kinds of weird stuff and went above and beyond because I wanted to be this cool, unique thing. So I taught people, how to do the grind and the farming, and I didn't really have any weak suits. Stacy at that time was the late night person, so I had her doing it. We had a green team member who had changed a week before the Lake Geneva anomaly. Walt, he had joined our team, and very comfortable saying greatest Ingress player I have ever met. They always did 100% legit, was very by the book. Just a ruthlessly efficient Ingress player that I was fortunate enough that he switched to our team, because in the early days he was running me ragged. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, how is this guy getting all this gear? I can't keep up. And that's coming from a guy that when I first started playing, I was hooked. I was playing like 12 hours a day, and he was still running me in circles. And he just kind of play before work, on his lunch hour, after work for a couple hours, and then go home.
Yeah.
Still, just I just did all that. How did he already undo it? I was super proud. I farmed, because when I started, there was like 6 greens in Milwaukee, and I was like one of the only high-level blues. So I farmed for like 3 weeks to get enough gear, because back then you didn't have an inventory cap. You just you'd farm. Luckily, everything was a little glitched out early on. Like, you didn't have multi-hacks and all this. You just had shields. You had common, rare, very rare shields. That was it. But you could hack a portal, but there was a delay to the server. So if you were fast with your fingers, you'd hack, and then you'd back out, you'd hack. So you could actually hack a portal like 9-10 times before it registered with the server, and then you just see all the gear popping up out of the portal. You're like, yeah, I'm getting all this gear. And I remember out at school, Dave Jacko had gotten a couple of level 8 bombs. We were still level 4 or 5. I'm like, oh God, level 8 bombs. He's like, oh, I'll drop you a couple. You can pick them up. I'm sitting there picking them up. I'm like, God, man, how many did you drop for me? Mm-hmm. He's like, 5. Why? I was like, because I picked up 400 already. And he started picking them back up. So he had dropped 5 on the ground, and between the two of us, I think we picked up like 600. But yeah, it was definitely very different back then. You had to spin the resonators. They were on like this little carousel.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, we're getting short on time, but I do want to play some of those, or I will read some of the emails. I think that's a good question to keep going with, is how did you start the game and how did you choose your team? I think getting I like people's perspective on how they started, because again, no one would have guessed that you were there like trying to figure out Caesar ciphers and all this other stuff.
Everybody knows me, knows big nerd right here, this guy.
So we'll read some of the voicemails next time, and our question for next week is going to be, what was the first anomaly you attended? Niantic released their list of anomalies for the next year plus. So I want to know, what was the first anomaly you attended? Tell us a little story about that anomaly, and we'll play your voicemails and read your emails. Again, the email is portalhunter@resradio.net. And the phone number is 414-207-6278. And don't forget to leave your IGN and tell your story so we know who we're talking to here.
That's in-game name, in case
yes,
you're not totally
IGN
nerd-speaked out yet.
Yeah. So again, the question for next week is going to be, tell us about your first anomaly and the experience that. And if you want to call us still and tell us about how you started the game and how you picked your team, feel free to call us and tell us about that. And we hope to see you next week. Have a good day, everyone.
Happy hunting.
Yeah.